Hi all, welcome back to Sunshine City Show. If anyone's been watching Fox News recently, tune in to a guy called Tucker Carlson. He does a really good job. Now, one thing I've noticed with Fox News lately is they're talking about mainstream media. Like they're not mainstream media, right? They're one in a big wheel of cogs of lots and lots of media. Now, when Fox News says that everything out there is fake, they're, as it was, the only true form of media today. That and a few others like Sky News Australia. Now, one thing about Tucker is he never ever lies. He says what he feels, and that's good enough. And that's what a news reporter should do. He should say how he feels. Unfortunately, with this Wuhan thing saying it's a load of lies, getting an expert, the top woman in the world, scientists, saying that Wuhan was a level 4 lab, that they deliberately released it. The sad thing is we've kind of known that from the beginning. Most of us have known this. Some of us deep down unconsciously don't want to believe that the world could do this to us, that we don't want to believe that China could do this to us. And that's part of the problem. Part of the problem of accepting that the media is a lie and everything that the news that we rely on has been lying to us, and that Facebook is complicit when you kind of knew that. YouTube is complicit. Any vlogger that's out there knows that they have to be careful about what they talk about. YouTube is a relatively good platform. I have to say Facebook is Nazi book, and Zuckerman is crazy because he's a young guy, he's a SJW, he can't stand with a bit of backbone, a bit of spine in his back and take on the SJWs. They're out there rioting, doing their Black Lives Matter, doing the rioting and shooting people to death, that he can't stand up and stand for freedoms and realise that the Republicans are not that bad. He's taking sides. And you can't take sides because the elections are coming up in America, and you have to have a true platform of left and right and ideas of Democrats and Republicans. And you need, this is a time that social media platforms can stand up and say, this is how media should be run. It should be free speech. It should be about ideas. We shouldn't be locking down doctors, for instance. So if I bring up proof and I go, hey, this doctor has said this, that should be credible evidence. Now, if you've got, that doctor's a wacko, but we've got a conference of doctors saying this, right? It's a cure or something for COVID. There's about 4 cures, and 4 conferences of doctors have been coming out with 4 cures, but all of the media platforms are stopping this information coming out. So when Tucker says that World Health Organization is complicit in this lie, complicit in keeping this information, and that the virus was only 0.03% deaths and the doctors had to fiddle the fiddles, and they've come out now and said that this is what they've been doing. They've been encouraged to lie, and people are surprised by this. This is really old news. It's sad, but, at least the media is coming out and saying it, and they're trying to do it extensively, so it's some kind of news right now, because when you give us old news, it's really, really hard, because old news is sad. It's just sad. We want news at the moment. We want investigation, and Fox News did say that the investigation didn't take place, but we want the news to be right there and talking about it right then and there, not to be squashed, not for ideas. Well, hang on a minute. Maybe Wuhan started this thing. Maybe it didn't come from animals. Maybe it came from the level 4 lab, the only level 4 lab in China. Shouldn't we be looking into this? That could be news where they could investigate it, and that could be an idea that they could go down. And that gets things to happen. That gets World Health Organization to change its agenda, because right now World Health Organization is a dictatorship. Our government, Ardern, she adheres to the World Health Organization in everything. She's not going to listen to some tinfoil crackpot on YouTube like myself. And here I go onto these platforms. There's a guy called Jamie Strange. I go on there and I said, are you going to protect us from the vaccine mark of the beast in brackets? Because that's generally what it is, and people are laughing and that kind of thing. But, you know, I'm the first one to do it. And I get on somewhere else and the first one to do it there too. The problem is no one, even the public, are too scared. Too scared because they realise it's end times. Deep down, if you're talking to people, they talk about it being end times. They talk about these lockdowns. When you have a situation of no common sense and you're locking people up for no reason, you're locking them in their own homes, you're letting them go to the supermarkets in lines, and you have trolley boys watching you wash your hands, watching you go in, that you're adhering to a Nazi kind of like prison camp scenario where they're giving out food, but you're buying the food. You're the customer. They're meant to be looking after you, the customer, but they're at this philosophy now, we're the parent. So even in companies, they have the same philosophy. They've changed it from you're doing good for them, you're a credit to the company if you're a good worker. They're becoming the parent, and there is no such thing as good workers anymore. You get promoted for following technology and accepting tracking in your life and everything because you're a boring person. And so you're going to get promoted because you want to be tracked, because your life is so boring that you could get promoted. And that boring boss has no inspiration to the people under them, because that boring boss is too boring. And that's who they're recruiting right now, boring people. And that's kind of what happened in China. And that's why we have this guy called Z. That's why he's released this virus. Then he creates a social credit system where he has people checking and everyone's a good little Samaritan. In a communist country, how can you be a good Samaritan? You've got no God in your life. And if you do have God in your life, you're off to the prison camp with the Muslims and the Christians and the Tibetans and everybody else. And the mosques. And it's sad because China have spread their wings. They went into Tibet, didn't really have much of an army, took that country out. No one really did a bit of an outcry about that. And then China have been doing a few skirmishes with the Indians. And it's like, We Are Change is just coming out with that. And it's like, well, I've talked about this months ago. How come you're just hearing about this now? This is the problem with news right now, is nobody seems to know what's going on anymore in the world. And it's very, very sad. And this news is very, very old right now. And we rely on media. People say media is our baseline of truth. Media is a lie. Everything in media is a lie. Going to space, the moon, a lie. You can watch video clips of astronauts, because they're on Earth and their arms disappear. They're on harnesses with wires. And people need to wake up to that there's a deception going on right now. Why would you lie about creation? It is creation. And we have to remember in 1969, the churches were full of people. And in the next 5 to 10 years, the churches emptied. The Freemasons emptied. Everything emptied. And the Freemasons, as I said in 2 videos prior to this, infiltrated the churches. Well, they didn't really infiltrate it. It's just that the Freemasons, it's kind of like a Templar society where you get up there and you try and make some changes. That you know in end times that the devil comes and you're going to have a bit of a war with them. Well, the only problem is the Templars, 1st, 2nd, 3rd degree, and with any institution, any corporation, evil takes over. And it's the same with the churches, the Freemasons. Everything's been infiltrated. And that's part of the problem. They have blood baths. If you're 33rd degree, I don't know which stage that is, 31, 32, 33, where they do weird things and bathing in blood and crazy things and taking out hearts of animals and the rituals on the Bible are just wrong. And so I just want to say that your baseline of truth, media who are run by CIA, Project Mockingbird, which you can Google if you want, covers media. And then when New Zealand media buys its media, it buys that propaganda. And Australia is the same. So New Zealand media is CNN pretty much. Australia media, CNN, except for Sky News Australia. Sky News Australia and Fox News are the best one. Al Jazeera, pretty good, but it also lies because it has an agenda. Fox News, sometimes it's good, but again it lies. And when they come on with space programs on Australia, Sky News, they come out and you think, well, that old guy will get on there and talk about space. No. They get the young guy out there. The young guy still believes it because he's been recently educated. They get him out there because why would you, as a news presenter, why would you talk about space when you don't even believe in it? You know it's a lie, so you get the young guy to do it. And if you watch these space programs, they get other people, other presenters to do it, which means that they don't believe it themselves. They can't get a credible presenter on there. They have to get the new guy to present it because he's happy. He's got a job in news presenting and no one wants to do it. No one wants to do it because they know it's a lie. And that's the problem right now is the media are run by companies and they have a space program and they're funded by NASA and they're funded to lie to you. Anyway, thank you all.